She stormed across the lawn like a tornado, waving a paper in her hand. "You can't live here," she screamed, her voice so loud the neighbors peeked out from behind their curtains. I was unloading boxes from my truck, trying to ignore her, but she shoved the paper in my face. "This is a violation notice," she hissed. "Our HOA doesn't allow people like you to move in without approval." I glanced at the paper. It wasn't even official, just a piece of printer paper with the words HOA violation scribbled on it. I chuckled, which only made her face turn redder. "Lady, I don't live in your HOA," I said calmly. "This house isn't part of Willow Creek. Check the property lines before you embarrass yourself." Her jaw dropped, then twisted into a wicked smile. "Oh, I know what I'm doing," she snapped. "You think you can just waltz in here and ruin our perfect community? Over my dead body." Two men appeared behind her, both wearing dark uniforms. My stomach tightened. At first glance, they looked like cops, but something felt off. Their badges were shiny. Too shiny, like they'd been bought off the internet. "Arrest him," she ordered, pointing at me. The taller one stepped forward, hand hovering near his belt. "Sir, you need to leave this property immediately," he said, voice flat and robotic. I didn't move. Instead, I crossed my arms and stared him down. "Funny," I said slowly, "because this is my property. Just closed on it yesterday." Karen let out a shrill laugh. "Not for long. Once these officers do their job, you'll be gone. People like you don't belong here." My blood boiled, but I stayed calm. I had a secret she didn't know, a very big one. I took a slow step toward them and said, "Before you make a mistake, you might want to check my credentials." Karen sneered. "Oh, please, you're bluffing." The fake cops exchanged a nervous glance. I caught it immediately. I smiled. "You've got 30 seconds to walk away before this turns into a real police matter." For the first time, Karen's confidence faltered. She blinked, then barked, "What are you waiting for? Get him out of here." But the taller guy shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should call this in first." Karen spun on him. "I'm in charge here. Do it now." I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over a number that would change everything. "Your move," I said, my voice low and dangerous. Her smug grin froze. Karen's face twisted with rage as she realized I wasn't backing down. She stomped her foot like a spoiled child. "Fine. You want to play games? You'll regret this," she screamed, then turned to her so-called officers. "Arrest him now, or you're both fired," she barked. The shorter man's eyes widened. "Fired? Real cops don't get fired by some random neighbor." My suspicion was confirmed. They weren't cops at all. I tilted my head, smirking. "Fired, huh? Interesting choice of words." Karen froze, realizing her slip-up, but it was too late. I raised my phone and dialed a number. The call connected instantly. "Sheriff's Department," a firm voice answered. "Hey, Mike," I said casually, keeping my eyes locked on the fake cops. "Got a situation at Willow Creek. A couple of guys impersonating officers. Think you and your team can swing by?" There was a pause, then a sharp reply. "We're on our way." Karen's face went pale. "What? Wait, what are you doing? This is unnecessary. They're just here to keep the peace," she stammered. I chuckled darkly. "Oh, they'll keep the peace, all right, from the inside of a jail cell." The taller, fake cop's hands trembled slightly. "Ma'am, maybe we should go," he muttered under his breath, but Karen snapped, "No, you stay right here. He's bluffing." I took a step closer, my voice calm but razor-sharp. "Bluffing? You really think I'd buy a house without knowing exactly who my neighbors are?" I leaned in slightly. "And you really think you can threaten me when my wife trains SWAT teams for a living?" The shorter fake cop's eyes nearly popped out of his head. "SWAT, ma'am, we—" "Shut up," Karen screeched, cutting him off. She turned back to me, trying to regain control, but her voice wavered. I don't care who your wife is. This is my neighborhood, and people like you don't get to waltz in here and ruin it." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. Karen spun around, panic flashing across her face. "No, no, no, no," she muttered, backing away. I crossed my arms, satisfied. "Sounds like backup's here," I said coolly, "and this time, it's real cops." The fake officers looked like they were about to bolt, but Karen screamed, "Don't you dare run!" They didn't listen. As soon as the first sheriff's cruiser turned the corner, they took off sprinting down the street, leaving Karen standing alone, trembling with rage and fear. When the sheriff's car stopped in front of my house, the door flew open and Sheriff Mike himself stepped out, glaring at Karen. "Well, well," he said, his tone cold and dangerous. "Care to explain why we got a call about you bringing fake cops to intimidate your new neighbor?" Karen stammered, her face beet red. "That's not true. He's lying. This is all just a misunderstanding." Mike raised an eyebrow. "Funny thing, Karen. You've cried wolf one too many times. This time we brought the body cams." I couldn't help but grin. This was about to get very interesting. Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Body cams?" she stuttered, her hands trembling. You can't record me without my permission." Sheriff Mike smirked, shaking his head slowly. "That's where you're wrong, Karen. Public property, active investigation. You don't get a say." He turned his body slightly so his chest cam faced her directly. "Now, why don't you tell me why those two clowns you brought here ran like guilty men the moment we showed up?" Karen's voice cracked. They misunderstood my instructions. I didn't know they weren't real officers." I stepped forward, unable to hold back my laugh. "Oh, really? Because I clearly heard you threaten to fire them if they didn't arrest me. Sounds like an employer talking to her employees, not a neighbor asking for help." Her eyes shot daggers at me, but she couldn't form a comeback. Mike crossed his arms, his tone sharp. "Karen, I've had about enough of your games. You filed over 30 false complaints in the last 6 months. We let it slide because it was just noise complaints, trash can placement, petty stuff. But impersonating law enforcement?" His voice dropped dangerously low. "That's a whole different league." Karen's breathing quickened. I was just trying to protect the neighborhood. Look at him." She pointed at me like I was some kind of criminal. "He doesn't belong here. His house isn't part of the HOA, and that means he'll ruin everything." Mike's eyebrows shot up. "Not part of the HOA?" He turned to me. "Is that true?" I pulled a folder from my truck and handed it over calmly. "Here are the property deeds. This house sits just outside Willow Creek's jurisdiction. Karen has no authority over it." Mike flipped through the papers, then nodded. "This is airtight. You own it outright." Karen let out a high-pitched scream of frustration. No, this can't be happening. Our community has rules. He has to follow them." "Your rules stop where his property line begins," Mike said firmly, "and threatening him with fake cops? That's a felony." Karen's face drained of color. She stumbled backward, her voice trembling. You wouldn't arrest me. I'm the HOA president." I couldn't help myself. I laughed so hard I nearly doubled over. "Oh, you're about to be the former HOA president?" Mike motioned to his deputies who had arrived silently behind him. "Take her in for questioning. We'll track down those fake cops next." 2 deputies moved forward. Karen shrieked and tried to run, but one of them grabbed her arm firmly. "You can't do this to me," she screamed, thrashing wildly. "I run this neighborhood." Mike shook his head, his voice steady but cold. "Not anymore, Karen. You crossed the line." As they dragged her toward the cruiser, Karen twisted around to glare at me one last time. "You'll regret this. This isn't over." I met her gaze calmly. "Oh, it's over. You just don't know it yet." The moment she was shoved into the back seat, a small crowd of neighbors who'd been watching silently from their porches started whispering to each other. Some looked shocked, others relieved. Mike turned to me, his tone softening. "You handled yourself well. Most people would have lost their cool." I shrugged, smirking. "I learned a long time ago. Never show all your cards at once." He tilted his head. "What do you mean?" I leaned closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. "Let's just say I've been watching Karen for weeks, and I have proof of everything she's done." Mike's eyes widened slightly, but before he could respond, Karen's muffled screams echoed from the back of the cruiser. "Guess we'll need that proof sooner rather than later," he said, his tone grim. I nodded. "Oh, you'll get it. And when you do, Karen won't just lose her position." I glanced at the neighbors, still whispering nervously. "She'll lose this entire neighborhood." Sheriff Mike's eyes narrowed as he studied me. "What do you mean by entire neighborhood?" he asked cautiously. I took a deep breath, then unlocked my phone and handed it to him. "Here," I said. "Everything's on there. Security footage, recordings, documents, even the contracts she forged." Mike scrolled through the files, his jaw tightening. "Good Lord, she's been pocketing HOA funds for years. Fake maintenance projects, bogus fines, even blackmailing some of her own board members." The murmurs from the crowd grew louder as more neighbors crept closer, trying to listen in. "She wasn't protecting this neighborhood," I said, raising my voice so everyone could hear. "She was stealing from it. And when anyone got too close to the truth, she used fake cops to scare them silent." Gasps erupted from the crowd. One older man shouted, "She fined me $500 for having my flagpole too tall." Another woman burst into tears. "She made us repaint our house 3 times and said it wasn't the right shade of white. We thought she was just strict, but she was scamming us." Mike turned to his deputies. "Get this information to the DA immediately and freeze all HOA accounts connected to Karen." Karen, still locked in the cruiser, began thrashing wildly. "No, don't listen to him, he's lying," she screamed, her voice cracking. I stepped closer to the car, my voice calm but cutting. "You tried to destroy me the moment I moved in. But what you didn't know, Karen, is that I'm not just some random guy with a house." Her furious eyes locked on mine. "Then who are you?" she spat. I leaned down so only she and Mike could hear. "I'm a federal investigator. Buying this house was part of a sting operation." Karen's face went completely white. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I straightened up and addressed the crowd. "This neighborhood is free now. No more fake fines. No more intimidation. You'll elect a real board, and you'll run this community the way it should have been from the start." The crowd erupted in cheers, some people even crying with relief. Mike gave me a long, impressed look. "You played that perfectly," he said. "You had me fooled, too." I smirked. That was the point. 2 more cruisers arrived to take Karen away. As they drove her off, her screams faded into the distance. A little girl tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked, "Mommy, does this mean we don't have to move now?" Her mother knelt down, tears streaming down her face. "That's right, honey. We're safe now." I turned back to the cheering neighbors and raised my voice one last time. "This land is yours. Don't let anyone ever take it from you again." As the sun set behind Willow Creek, Mike shook my hand firmly. "So, what now? You staying here?" I smiled, glancing at the house I'd bought just to bring Karen down. "Yeah, I think I'll stick around for a while." Mike laughed. "Good. Something tells me this neighborhood's going to need a guy like you." The camera of a nearby neighbor caught Karen's cruiser disappearing down the road while the whole street clapped and cheered. For the first time in months, Willow Creek felt free. And for Karen, she was about to learn that when you mess with the wrong neighbor, justice always moves in next door.